Welcome back. I hope you're all doing well, because what we have here today is something that I have been super excited to talk about for a very long time. Not a very long time, but at least a decent amount of time since it's released, basically. Now, this series would be known as Dandadan or Dandadan. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but there is a lot of history behind this series. Not per se in its creation, but more so the path the author took to get to where he is now, to releasing this brand new series. And funny enough, do you know where it all starts from? Fujimoto, the author of Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man. See, Fujimoto has kind of brought forward a whole new meta, quote unquote. It's probably a poor word to use, but he's definitely brought in this style, this concept that is very fun and engaging, not only for readers, but what seemingly is for manga authors as well, to thrive and build upon this chaotic world with a lot of simplistic but quirky humor interlaced within it, trying to balance the chaos and out of this worldness with humor and relatability, emotions, and a bit of grounding for the most part, is a very difficult thing to do. It's a back and forth tug of war, but Dandadan is the next iteration of it. And I'm super excited that Fujimoto has brought his assistants, which is where all of these people come from, into the spotlight to play upon this Fire Punch Chainsaw Man influence, this chaoticness, and bring it forward within their own series. So to paint the full picture, from my knowledge, Fujimoto didn't really have much of a large body of work prior Fire Punch. He had a couple of one-shots, I believe, but nothing necessarily stuck. And then Fire Punch was his first big, successful, serialized series. And if you've read Fire Punch, you know just exactly what Fujimoto's style is. You're moving on to Chainsaw Man, which has gained a lot of worldwide popularity. It's getting an anime, it's doing extremely well, and has kind of captured the hearts of everyone that has read it for the most part. There is a different type of love for Chainsaw Man. Now, because of this very prominent style that Fujimoto has given birth to, and that feels kind of refreshing within the medium, a lot of his assistants have spun off into their own direction to create their own respectful stories. Now, the first one is Hell's Paradise. The author of that used to be an assistant for Fujimoto while working on Fire Punch. The second one, and I couldn't actually confirm or deny this, yet it was provided as information, so take it with a grain of salt. The Spy X Family author was also Fujimoto's assistant and worked on Fire Punch. And now this brand new series, Dandadan, the assistant worked on both Fire Punch, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise. So 3 assistants have been birthed from Fujimoto. They've either worked on Fire Punch, they've either worked on Chainsaw Man or Hell's Paradise, and now all 3 of them are absolutely thriving. And funny enough, they're all heading towards Jump Plus, which is the digital variation Weekly Shonen Jump, to put simply. It's got less restrictions, a lot more creative freedom, and quite seemingly a lot healthier in its approach to giving authors the breaks they deserve. I know Kaiju number 8, I believe, only does 3 chapters a month. Spy X Family releases bi-weekly, which is 1 chapter every 2 weeks. And just starting with those 2, the success behind them has been recognized. They are extremely popular, extremely successful, and because they are so young and not within the main spotlight of Weekly Shonen Jump, there's even more spotlight going towards them. It's not like it's unheard of, but it's a great start. People are seeing this, and then more series are coming in. Chainsaw Man Part 2 is going into Jump Plus. Dandadan is published within Jump Plus, be it though it's not translated in English. I hope it does. Hell's Paradise was also in Jump Plus. Do you see the holy groundwork for all of these series? And they all kind of revolve, rotate, and are influenced by Fujimoto, which is absolutely great. So Dandadan hasn't been officially translated yet, but there has been a lot of traction for it, so the potential of it actually getting a official English release on Viz or something along those lines could be rather high. I think for a lot of people there's definitely hope and expectation behind it. This series is quite literally the next step, evolution, or child of Chainsaw Man. There's a lot of influence from it. There's a lot of very simplistic quirk or humor. There's an extreme amount of chaos and unrelentless unpredictability. Everything kind of just swirling together to create this cluster of a reading experience, and it is genuinely enjoyable. If you're not used to Fire Punch, if you're not used to Chainsaw Man, I should say specifically, maybe even Hell's Paradise, it may not be for you. But if you're looking for something similar to Chainsaw Man, by all means, definitely check out this series. I want to give you a brief synopsis, a brief overlook of what this series is about without giving away too much detail, because I feel like this is one you have to go in blind and just experience it. So there's 2 main characters, our female protagonist, Momo, and our male protagonist, Ken. Now, Ken and Momo are entirely on the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of popularity at school. Put simply, Momo would sit more on the hierarchy of women and the popular side for them, and Ken would be on the lower side, not really having all too many friends. People view him being nerdy or timid, simplistic. He even gets bullied a lot. And as much as Momo has this popular personality or surrounds herself with popular people, it seems like she genuinely means well. She's not necessarily a bully herself. She's rather kind and caring when she wants to be, so she kind of steps in when she sees Ken getting bullied. Nothing too crazy, but Ken takes somewhat of a liking to her in a very weird and obnoxious approach, but one that Momo kind of gets a little bit angry about but interested in. And they have this clash of ideals and understandings between aliens and ghosts or spirits. Momo believes that ghosts and spirits are the most consistent thing and she doesn't believe in aliens, but then Ken is addicted to aliens and research surrounding it but does not believe in spirits or ghosts. So they both make a deal. They each go to this very specific hotspot for either alien activity or curse or spirits, ghost activity, whatever it may be, and try to convince one another that these things are legitimate. So now that they are brand new acquaintances, they go their separate ways to convince one another, and whoever kind of breaks first becomes the errand person for the other. Of course, they both come into contact with some very obnoxious and horrifying things. Ken comes in contact with this curse granny, which we call her Turbo Granny now for a very good reason. She's extremely quick, but the way this granny is introduced and brought across is in the most unpredictable and weirdest way you can imagine. It genuinely made me sit back in my chair and I was like, wait, did I read this right? Has this been translated correctly? To keep it PG and not to get obliterated by demonetization, the curse granny asks Ken if he wants to suckle on her breasts, and if he does that, she will suckle on his banana. It's kind of weird censoring myself like that, but hopefully you get the gist. So already you're kind of like, wait, hold on, did I read this right? We shift over to Momo's perspective. She's in this kind of abandoned building, alien UFO hotspot, and she comes across these three aliens that are disguised as these businessmen. They obviously look super obnoxious and weird. They don't look like normal human beings, but she ends up getting abducted. She gets stripped, put on this table, preparing to be probed. Now, these aliens have a bit of interesting lore to them. They have no females on their planet, so they cannot reproduce. Instead, how they continuously grow in population is by cloning themselves. So they want to learn how to reproduce and they want to kind of experiment on Momo. So she's kind of confused at this point, still trying to fathom what's going on. And then you get this one very out there panel of the alien businessman with a robotic or mechanical rod, if you will, ready to probe Momo. As you can already tell, very on the nose, very kind of out there and just weird. I promise you though, it contextualizes itself surprisingly in a very good way. So this alien is about to start probing, and then Ken rings on the phone and he's been cursed or possessed by the Turbo Granny because he couldn't outrun her because he was in this specific tunnel, and now he's kind of morphed through the phone and has appeared where the alien and Momo are, starts to fight them, but not in the way that you would actually normally think. Because he's possessed by the Turbo Granny and because the Turbo Granny wanted to suck his bean sprout, when he's in this mode, the personality of the granny or the characteristics of the granny start to take over a lot more. She's very aggressive and full on and overwhelming, so Ken can't really control her like that. It's like a whole different being a part of him. She uses her mouth, which is like the main weapon of choice, to bite people on the crutch and completely rip out and swallow whatever is there. So obviously the aliens have these big mechanical bananas and the granny or Ken is just going around and biting them all. You then get a better understanding of what Momo is. Her grandmother, who is very vital or important to the story, raised Momo after her parents, I believe, passed away or got into an accident, something along those lines. Her grandmother is very spiritual, which is the reason why she believes in spirits and curses, ghosts, etc. But she also believes in chakra and chi, and ever since Momo was a young child, her grandmother would teach her a hand sign that she would have to hold up when she's walking to allow the chi to flow through her better, so it wouldn't store up and kind of eat away at her on the inside. And because of this, Momo got bullied and kind of emotionally shunned her grandmother because of it. Now, because the aliens were messing with her mental waves, trying to get her more aroused by reconstructing how she thought about things, she kind of awakens all of her chakras and her powers become a lot more profound sufficient. And within an instant, when she starts thinking and reflecting about on that past and her grandmother and her own innate power, she kind of lets it all out, and all the chi comes flying out completely and obliterates the chair that she's strapped to and knocks back some of the aliens. Because of what the aliens done messing with her brain, it's more enhanced, it's more powerful, and she's able to use it kind of similar to telekinesis, where she can just lift it up with her hands and throw people around, or suppress, more specifically, Ken and the granny curse that's inside of him. So they end up beating the aliens thanks to Ken, the turbo granny he's merged with, alongside Momo's awakening of her powers, and we find out that she can actually suppress that granny completely, so she disappears. But when she does that, she also kind of comes out of Ken's body and goes back to her place of origin, which is where he got cursed. However, there seems to be still a massive percentage of power within Ken, enough to still make him lose control, and has to be constantly suppressed by Momo and her newfound abilities. You end off the first chapter with kind of a heartwarming moment. As they're walking out of the area, they have a bit of a conversation, and Momo shows a bit of interest. She has a bit of a heart flutter for Ken. Even though Ken is completely the polar opposite of what she enjoys, there is one man that she talks about consistently who's like a celebrity within Japan, who's super manly and simple, known as Ken Takakura. The name for this celebrity, which is a real celebrity by the way, is also the name for our main character, Ken. So when he finally tells her his full name, she realizes that he has the exact same name as the person that she wished she could be in love with, the person that she's crushing on. And this kind of kickstarts their relationship. So this is all I can give you for now. This is pretty much the first chapter, but I would highly recommend that you go Google it, give it a chance, go take a read, and just experience the absolute beautiful and chaotic artwork behind it. The way I talk about it or explain it might sound super simple, but I can promise you there is a lot of depth actually behind it. There's kind of like this weird beauty within the chaos, within the abruptness that is consistent, that you can follow, and it's absolutely enthralling to read. The second and third chapter do the exact same thing, but taking it to a whole new level with its artwork and storytelling and pushing things in an expanding direction. This is a weekly series, by the way, and I can only hope that it gets approached to be officially translated. I know the response for it has been super massive because Fujimoto has been kind of pushing it himself alongside the Hell's Paradise author, so it already has this backbone support for it that is super healthy. I am genuinely interested in this series. I'm super curious to see where it goes, what comes next, and the absolute obnoxious chaoticness that it brings across. At the moment, it's kind of like a more over-the-top Chainsaw Man, but has a lot of deep potential to expand in so many different directions and play on so much different lore, characters, emotions, ideas, and to weaponize that chaos in such an enjoyable and captivating type of way. And I couldn't be more excited to see where it goes from here. So with that being said, that is basically it. If you have read Dandadan, or if you're thinking about checking it out, if you appreciate the artwork, or if you like Chainsaw Man, and you want to kind of read more of Chainsaw Man but in a more obnoxious type of way, this series could definitely be for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I want to thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.